Can you guys hear me okay? Think about that. Hi guys, my name is Amy Felton and I'm a second-year communications student here at the University of Ottawa. My talk today is going to be telling you a little bit about my journey with the hearing loss and how the Starkey Hearing Foundation took this disability of mine and turned it into an advantage. Basically, I want to start with the whole diagnosis. I was diagnosed with I was diagnosed with a hearing loss when I was 3 years old. We're not really sure how this came to be. I personally believe that I was born with it. My mom seems to think that when I was 3 years old, apparently, instead of sliding down the fireman's pole on the playground, I just kind of jumped. And that's what motivated her to take me to get a hearing test, and that's when I got my diagnosis. As you can see in this picture here, those are my first sets of hearing aids. I was expected to have those basically up until high school. Hearing aids are expensive. It wasn't in my parents' budget, it wasn't even planned. We didn't even know I would need them. But the only thing that changes with hearing aids is the ear molds, the ear impression. As I grow up, my ears change as well. So once a year, I would go and sit in a chair, and they would inject green foam into my ears, and I would sit there for about an hour. Can't hear a thing. But when they took out the foam, it would have an ear impression, and then I would get a new ear mold. And that's how hearing aids really fit in each individual. I want to explain to you my hearing loss a little bit. Just to clarify, I get asked a lot, what can I hear without my hearing aids? And this might look a little bit confusing, but I have a mild to moderate hearing loss. So I'm within that gray curve right there. Any letter combinations, vowels, or symbols that you see within the gray area and above, I cannot hear without my hearing aids. So that's a refrigerator running, or PH, TH, leaves crunching. So basically, if I was in a horror movie, I would be screwed. The best way I can describe this is when someone wakes up from a coma in a movie and all their senses are just realigning and you can't really hear anything because everything's coming together and everything's muffled. That's what I hear. I'm showing you this graph to show you guys that it's different for each individual. Sometimes the lucky ones only get mild, and unfortunately others have profound. But we have technology to make it easier for everybody. Growing up, I was a pretty active kid. I did every sport accessible to me for about a year until I got the trophy, and then I quit. So I did karate, I did soccer, I did swimming, I did it all. So hearing aids didn't slow me down in the active sense. But when it came to being social, that's where it got difficult. Growing up, it was very difficult maintaining friendships. And internally, it was always the hearing aids for me. So, sorry. I put a lot of effort to showing people that I could do what they could do. But I mean, I had the 4+ grades, I did great, I got involved. It wasn't all terrible, but it was difficult. But those 3 people you see on the side there, those are the 3 other people that I grew up with hearing aids or a cochlear implant. And they made it so much better. We had our own little spy club, because when teachers forgot to turn off their FM systems and they would take a kid into the hall to get in trouble, we were the first to know about it. So, like Jimmy got sent to the office today because he brought matches to school, and we would have like our own little diary, we would write down what happened. It was so much fun. But when I got to grade 7, I realized, hey, I've accomplished a lot and I will accomplish more. But I want to show other kids with a hearing disability that they can do the same. So I became a mentor. Once a year, all the kids in my region with a hearing loss would go on a field trip. Sometimes it was laser tag, going to the movies, going bowling, going skating. It was the best part of the year. My favorite memory was a little girl in kindergarten. This was her first field trip with us. And she walked onto the bus, having no idea what she was getting into. But she just pointed to everybody and back to herself. She was shocked that so many people had hearing aids or a cochlear implant, and she wasn't the only one. She asked everybody what their story was, how long they've had them for, what have they done with them, where did they get them? It was just incredible. It showed me that what I was doing was important. And that's what motivated me to be a change maker. But unfortunately, the school board cut funding for these field trips. They cut a sense of belonging for all of these kids, but I was very fortunate to grow up with that. So as I said, I was a very active kid. One of the sports that I did do for a couple of years was dance. And as much as I didn't enjoy it, I'm very glad that I did. This man that you see on the screen, Jason Toon, he's the president of Starkey Canada. His daughters are in the same dance school as me, so that brought him to my recital. When he saw me dancing to Pink Cadillac, he could see how old my hearing aids were. After the dance recital, he found my mom, and he said, when she's ready for new hearing aids, you bring her to Starkey. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was planning on having those hearing aids for a very long time. But instead, my mom was like, let's see what it's about. We go about 6 months later, and next thing you know, I was meeting this new audiologist who was from Colombia. As a person with a hearing loss, accent's not that great, but her name was Hilma. She was wonderful, and I was sent right away to get a bunch of hearing tests. And while they were taking my hearing aids off and checking on the inside and what's going on, they were telling my mom that they were going to give me this next set of hearing aids in return for a donation of her choice to the Starkey Hearing Foundation. I just remember seeing my mom crying, but I had no idea that they were happy tears. So when I came out of the hearing booth and they set me back up with my hearing aids, I was handed this color palette. I was really confused. But the newest hearing aids that they had for children came in different colors. What? So I didn't even hesitate. There was green, red, blue, whatever, but there was pink. I like pink, okay? So 8-year-old Amy points to it, looks at the audiologist, says, that is what I want. And I was the first kid in Canada to have pink hearing aids. And everyone in Starkey still calls me Pink Girl. I've been very fortunate to try out multiple different technologies for Starkey over the years. They each get more technologically advanced. The ones at the top were my very first set. The third ones you see there actually connected to my TV. So it could be on mute for everybody else, but it would still stream directly to my hearing aids. My parents loved it. No Disney Channel for them. The earplugs there were for when my swimming phases were going on. I got a lot of ear infections. And the last set there, they connect to my phone. Yeah. Okay, I can listen to music in class. I can answer a call in the winter and not have my hands freeze off because watch out, Tony Stark, I am the new Iron Man. Okay? When I had these, every time, wear my hair up, walk down the hallway, show everybody what I had. It was the coolest thing, and even now I still have some of my roommates go, I wouldn't mind having hearing aids. Yeah, be careful what you wish for, okay? So when high school came about, I started to get involved. I realized how fortunate I was to have this foundation take care of me. And I just decided to advocate and fundraise for them as much as I possibly could. So in grade 12, I started a raffle by myself. I went to the vice principal, I showed her one of the video that I showed you at the beginning, caused a little tears, told her I wanted to do it, and it was on my own from there. So I went to local businesses. I got jerseys, I got tickets to the Leafs, the Jays, the Raptors, and I know I'm in Ottawa, but for the GTA, that's a pretty big deal, okay? And we raised over $2,000 in 3 days. That's one of my favorite memories from high school. It's something that I did for something that I loved, and it showed me that I can be successful in anything that I do. I also somehow managed to work up the nerve to be in a business competition. Very similar to Dragon's Den, except it's students pitching their business ideas. My concept was a cell phone case that lights up whenever you get a notification. So it connects to your phone through Bluetooth, and then you could choose what color for what notification, and it would be so much easier for people with a hearing disability to get their notifications. Because when you're in class, you can't have it on, you can't have your ringer on, or sometimes you can't hear your ringer in general. But they would make it so much easier. And I wanted Starkey to be there with me, so the competition let them have a booth, and at the final, I came in second place and got a check of $1,500. I did not donate that check, but it was definitely helpful for university. Also, during my reading week of last year, I got to do a 1-week internship with the Starkey marketing department, and I just cannot wait to work for them one day. Okay, let's talk about the actual foundation. Starkey is currently it's over 30 years of doing what it's been doing. It's helped over 1.1 million people in 100 different countries globally. Now, I am definitely one of the fortunate ones, Not everybody has the resources to detect a hearing loss at birth like we do now. Not everybody even knows they have a hearing loss or can't afford to even get it checked. Starkey makes that accessible. I find that so important because if I hadn't gotten those technologies, who knows what confidence I would have now. If I would be standing on this stage talking to you guys. Basically, they travel globally and they give hearing aids to people who can't afford them. What you saw in the video was a mission trip, but that's not all it is. There's 3 phases. The first phase is patient identification. Basically, they screen a bunch of locals in the area that they're going to, and they see if a hearing aid could actually help them, because unfortunately, some people just are deaf. If they're an applicant and they pass the screening phase, they get ear impressions. That green foam I was telling you about, they'll get those done, and they'll get their ear molds to bring back to them to phase 2. Phase 2 is what you saw in the video, where the hearing aid is attached to the ear mold, and some people hear for the first time in their lives. There's also some counseling for immediate action and speech therapy on site. Phase 3 is the aftercare program. After the mission is done, Starkey returns to that area, trains locals on how to fix hearing aids. They also provide speech therapy there, and they identify new hearing aid candidates for when they return. Starkey is so important to me. Because of them, because of all the technologies that I've had the pleasure of testing out for them, I am confident, I am stronger, and I have a beautiful outlook on life. We all know that we're lucky to be where we are. We're lucky to have access to free healthcare, to have resources and the technology to detect hearing loss. But not everybody is as fortunate. To hear the sound of a loved one's voice, to be able to not only hear, but listen, to maintain a conversation, these are all things that each individual deserves. So I ask you this again. Can you hear me? Thank you.